Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Welcome back. We got Caroline and Justin Schell here, and they're going to be talking a little bit about the core knowledge materials curriculum. So, guys, tell us a little bit about what this is and how do you guys use it?
Sure. So the core knowledge curriculum is put out by the Core Knowledge Foundation, and it's a foundation that was started by E.D. Hirsch Jr., and he's kind of a well-known personality in the kind of traditional education circles, and so it's really a very well done curriculum from I guess they would call it like a knowledge-based curriculum, where it's really about learning a very specific set of knowledge around whatever it might be, and they've broken it down. We're on the kindergarten level, so there's
on the preschool.
On the preschool level. But they break it down into that's the next one we're doing. I guess the book that we're using right now is called Everything.
What your preschooler needs to know.
Oh yeah, which I've always found the title to be like a little bit like but like
we
it's
have that book.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
that book on the
realize
shelf.
that
Yeah.
was actually a curriculum. That's very interesting.
yeah. So
So do you have the workbook, or do you have like the read alouds?
I
It's
don't.
the green one.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
It has like poem. Does it have like poems
Yeah.
in it and stories in it and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So they put out they put out that type of a book for, I think, for every grade level. And it has like stories and read alouds and little like the tiny little mini like history lessons and sciencey lessons and whatnot. But they also put out a workbook that it's interesting. It kind of complements that the read aloud book, but it doesn't like flow directly with it. Like it doesn't. Not everything in the read aloud book is going to be found in the workbook with a lesson that corresponds to it by any means. But there are several lessons in the workbook that will correspond to some of the lessons in the other book. So they complement one another, but they're not dependent. Well, that's a lie.
No,
the
they are
workbook
dependent.
is definitely dependent upon the read aloud book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what subjects are covered in the curriculum?
It covers specifically math, science, reading, history.
I think that's about it.
I think it's math, science, reading, and history.
Oh, and there's some art thrown in there too.
And art, yeah.
So it's kind of your one-stop shop. You get this book and do this, and it should be everything they need to know for that year.
Everything your preschooler.
Yeah, that is how they portray it. Yeah, and I mean, and it does go through a lot of things. I mean, in the preschool level, it's not. I don't think there's like too much there for the preschool level.
I think it is very approachable. I know that you can, and I haven't honestly looked into it, but maybe I know you guys interviewed Sarah a while back, because I know she uses this curriculum also, but she has like she leveled up on us. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how she's so much smarter than we are.
But she's a teacher, by she's very much the.
Yeah, but she I was talking with her about it, and she seemed to think, I mean, not seem to think, she has like a more in-depth curriculum that she uses with it that complements the workbook. So the workbook is structured like there's 2 workbooks for preschool that equals 52 weeks, I guess. And it's structured technically week to week. I just ignore that completely and do activities whenever we have time to do them. And we actually are almost through the second one. So it must be working at some level, because we've been at it for 52 weeks.
Yep.
But there's just one side of a paper that has one activity on it, and then the other side of the paper has another activity, and there's probably 8 or 10 papers per week. And some of them are maybe a little bit in depth, like they might reference one of the storybooks in the read aloud, and we'll go through either talking about the story in some way. But some of them are as simple as a bunch of pictures of fish, and it's like, tell your kid to circle all the blue fish, and boom, the color blue, we can move on now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice for me to use. Sometimes I use it as like a filler thing. Like I'll give my 4-year-old a worksheet to do while I'm tending to something with the 2-year-old, and she'll circle all the blue fish and be like, okay, what else, Mom? But sometimes there are certain activities that are more like, let's sit down, let's read this story, let's talk about this story. They had a Goldilocks and the 3 Bears story, and they wanted us to write a letter. I pretend like you're the little bear and write a letter to Goldilocks, which was like way more in depth, but like very imaginative and took a lot more like one-on-one interaction. So it has everything from just color identification to talking about the development in stories. But I guess that's all things your preschooler needs to know.
It's interesting concept, like it, even if you didn't use it as a full curriculum, you can almost use it as an assessment type tool. Like
exactly,
or at least know you're covering all the bases. Hey, I didn't miss anything. This is everything. I've covered it with my other different curriculums. I'll use this to supplement, even if you didn't want to use it as the whole base.
Well, and that's what I do with our oldest. I'm perpetually addicted to buying the pre-K K books at Walmart on the education shelf.
Yes.
Or at Costco.
Or
yeah,
at
the
Costco,
big like Scholastic workbook ones.
Yes.
I'm now getting like the next level up. I'm like, okay, what does she need to know for math for first grade? And I'm like thumbing through that, and I'm like, hey, can you do this? Do it. Yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah,
it's just so colorful.
And
I
like bringing them in as like assessments, or just like like a morning box or morning basket or something of that nature. So that's cool. So is that how you guys use it? It's just kind of a supplemental?
So I yes, definitely supplemental. I think our primary curriculum was is the year of playing skillfully that we've been doing, and we kind of build off of that. Those are much more like in depth, like kind of one-on-one or me with the 2 older ones, activities that we can kind of do all together. But
we do it on a weekly basis though. Still, I mean,
we definitely do it frequently. But I find it more helpful for me to kind of like almost like test her knowledge, like see. I mean, she doesn't. I don't tell her she's taking a test. She doesn't know she's taking a test, but it does give me that reassurance that like, okay, she gets this concept, and then she'll be proud of it. She'll start a worksheet, and I'll walk away for a second and come back, and she'll be really proud of herself that she finished it before I came back, and but they're usually like pretty quick little activities. Like I said, some of them are a little bit more in depth that definitely require you to sit down and do the activity with your child. But I think it's reassuring for me to kind of see that she can do the activity without much hand holding, and then I'm like, okay, she gets patterns. We're good here. We can move on from patterns now, for a little while before we revisit it again.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed about these type of curriculums. It tends to be more, it feels like you're almost testing the kid as opposed to showing how to instruct them on some concept. Do you find it to be difficult on that framework? Like, is there a lot of instruction there, or is it really left up to you to then teach the student or the learner on how to do that?
So each activity is very straightforward and simple. And they do provide like a little, like some tips on how to like
these are the things you should discuss.
Yeah, when you're doing this with your child, talk about this first, then do this activity. If they're having a hard time, try this instead. So they usually, have a couple tips for how to get through the activity, and it's honestly starts off so basic, and it kind of built up my confidence a little bit, because I was like, oh, like I can teach her how to how to do this, and from that confidence, I was kind of able to to build up my, just kind of random, my own extensions of the worksheets. If we were doing a color activity, then, I was like, okay, well, I think she gets these colors. Why don't we, move on to painting with these same colors? And then why don't we move on to identifying those colors in the book that we're reading tonight at bedtime? And, I think that I kind of naturally extrapolated from it, but it doesn't, the curriculum itself is pretty just straightforward. Like, here's your worksheet, do your worksheet, and then, move on to the next worksheet. It is structured to be done, like I said, kind of week to week. And I go in order on it. for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you don't. It's,
and it
where's
works both ways.
page 7?
Yeah.
But if you do go in order, it does like go back on itself. So like in week 1, maybe they'll review the color purple, but then in week 3, they'll talk about the colors purple and orange. And so you're kind of like reviewing purple and learning a new color also. Or if they talk about pattern recognition, in week 7, then a couple weeks later, they'll go back to looking at patterns in a different way. So it does kind of build on itself if you go in order.
Yeah. And even if you don't, and when you go back, they're still referencing the same thing. So you're still getting that kind of spaced repetition with the concepts that they're talking about in there. So, and so that's how it works for the preschool level. They do go up, through several grades, and it's different depending on what subject. Like ELA, I think, and math are kind of much more. They have much greater levels of availability for those, and then a little bit lesser for science and social studies. And then I think they're trying to build their art and music and those kind of things up as well. But a lot of the resources for those are available free online through their website. But a lot of the workbooks and things like that you can purchase, they'll send those to you in print version. So
what's the typical price for maybe just like 1 year's worth of books?
The workbooks, I think you can buy that. You can buy them used on Amazon and probably elsewhere also.
Yeah, we can't resell ours because we rip pages out and things like that.
Yeah, we rip all the pages out and use all the pages. But if somebody decides to just use the pages as reference and not use them, you could do that. But I think they range like $60 to $70.
Okay.
Per workbook. Yeah. Okay.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you.
And then you need the teacher's guide as well, right?
And
I think.
Well, the read aloud.
Right.
In the older grades, they do have a specific teacher's guide, and it's very much geared toward a teacher who's teaching a group of kids, and so especially for the ELA stuff. So those I've looked through, and I found it to be a little bit less approachable from a homeschool parent perspective. But if you really wanted to use that, or you had that background, that might work better for you. The other subjects don't necessarily have that teacher workbook. I think I'd love to pull from their resources for math and some of the social studies stuff and science stuff. But yeah, the older grades, the ELA stuff seemed a lot less approachable to me because they have a very in-depth, a structured teacher guide and everything. So.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys taking the time out to educate everybody on the core knowledge curriculum. I think it was a nice pick of way. Shocking that we already have it.
Well, yeah, we bought that book years ago, at a used book sale. We bought it, and I was just looking at it the other day and going, "Oh yeah, I forgot we had this." And I didn't know that it was actually named something from a series, so that's really funny. But yeah, learn something every day. Thanks, guys, so much.
There you go. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!